Islamic city of Ramadi in Iraq and the ancient World Heritage listed city of Palmyra in Syria. The militants are now holding about 50% of Syrian territory. The victories have left many questioning the strategy of the US-led coalition. Michael O'Hanlon is a security and defence analyst at the Brookings Institution in Washington. He says the situation in Iraq is a major setback.
We always knew that most of Anbar province and the surrounding cities of Ramadi were in the wrong hands and under ISIL control, and therefore that its strength there was considerable. You know, the fact that Ramadi, which is the regional capital and along with Fallujah, one of its two largest cities, the fact that it would fall completes the sweep, so to speak, more or less, and now almost all of Anbar is under ISIL control, and moreover it shows the Iraqi army wasn't getting very well rebuilt. It suggests that American attentiveness or the American role in this war wasn't quite adequate to the task, and it's going to just slow everything else down. So at a best case level of analysis, it's a significant slowing, and obviously a personal tragedy for a lot of friendly Iraqis who are now suffering at the hands of ISIL's rule. In a worst case, it could even challenge our basic assumptions about which direction this war is headed.
Because this was a force we've been led to believe only recently that was on the back foot, suffering from shortages of cash and weapons, and that's clearly not the case.
That's right, and you know, I think some people were making that argument more enthusiastically than others. I was
leader trying to oust Gruevski says Macedonia, a democracy established just 24 years ago, will not see the kind of ethnic violence that seems to haunt the Balkans.
Not here, not in our country, not in this moment. I hope never in future. But it's possible to have some kind of violence because of separation of our society.
That separation is about ideology, not ethnicity, Zaev says. European diplomats are trying to smooth relations between the opposition and government, worried that any division in this small corner of the Balkans can quickly spread to the whole region. For NPR News, I'm Joanna Kakissis in Skopje, Macedonia.
In the 1950s and 60s, film studios in Rome, known as Hollywood on the Tiber, famous for swords and sandals epics and spaghetti westerns. The later competition for TV and cheaper studios in Eastern Europe, the Cinecittà fell on hard times. But like any good film, there's a twist to this story. As NPR's Silvia Poggioli reports, the Italian studios are experiencing a revival.
Okay, right, please. Control.
This is the vast Cinecittà backlot, some 15 miles south of Rome. But what we're looking at is ancient Jerusalem, and a reconstruction of the circus built there by the Romans for chariot races. Yes, this is the remake of Ben-Hur, and today they're shooting the famous chariot duel between Ben-Hur and his friend-turned-enemy Messala. But contrary to the Charlton Heston epic, shot in 1959 at Cinecittà with 15,000 extras, this remake will take advantage of the latest in visual effects technology, and the 400 extras here today will look like 100,000. Producer Sean Daniel points to the racecourse that's 2 football fields long.
That's the starting gate down there. There are 8 chariots, each pulled by 4 horses. So when the race starts, 8 chariots, 8 drivers, with 32 horses. It will take a month to film the chariot sequence.
Ben-Hur is played by Jack Houston of Boardwalk Empire fame, and the movie also
plan calls for a national soccer curriculum to be introduced in 20,000 schools nationwide in the next 5 years. Feyer's a native of New York and an advisor to the program, and he helps train Chinese coaches and kids. Back at his hotel, he tells me that his strategy is to start at the grassroots, to build a nationwide pool of soccer talent.
There's only 8 countries that have ever won a World Cup, and they're the same repeaters every single time. And it comes down to one really, really, really important word: culture.
Feyer advocates teaching kids from as early as age 2. Drill them in the basics like controlling the ball. Cultivate soccer moms and dads to help the kids. And he adds, before you start worrying about professional soccer, focus on competing in youth leagues.
If you're not investing in youth of today or tomorrow, you're not going to play in the World Cup. That's the reality of it.
He adds that there are no shortcuts to soccer glory.
You know, a lot of these countries, not just China, think that they're one coach away from playing in a World Cup.
China had an earlier government sports promoter Wang Xi for his advice. He says their questions revealed a lot.
Their first question was, what method can we use to raise China's soccer level in the shortest amount of time? Their question shows that they're in a big hurry to get quick results.
Much of the impetus for the program comes from China's #1 soccer fan, President Xi Jinping. It's been widely reported that he wants his country to host and win a World Cup. That's why Wang Qi finds officials' extreme enthusiasm for the plan a bit fishy.
Many Chinese officials' biggest problem is that they only know how to fawn on their superiors. Xi Jinping likes soccer, the leadership wants to develop it, so they all rush to build soccer fields. They have no concept of governing for the people.
Back on the soccer field, Coach Tom Byer prepares to head off to other schools. In the meantime, he tells the kids to practice hard until he returns in a few weeks.
So I'll see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.
The earliest China is likely to have a shot at hosting the World Cup is 2026 or 2030. How long it could take China to win one is unclear. Xi Jinping has 8 more years in office. Anthony Kuhn, NPR News, Beijing.
The Florida mailman who landed his gyrocopter outside the Capitol last month is back in Washington. Doug Hughes was in federal district court who not guilty to 6-count indictment. NPR's Peter Overby spoke to Hughes about his controversial trip and why he made it.
Outside the courthouse, Hughes called his flight an act of civil disobedience.
I'm not eager for jail time. On the other hand, I took responsibility for what I did.
He faces felonies for flying without a pilot certificate or aircraft registration, also 3 misdemeanors for violating national defense airspace, and 1 more for owning a vehicle falsely labeled as a postal carrier, the gyrocopter, a smaller, less complicated relative of helicopter.
To explain those allegations that are being made against him. Now, the Commissioner has said that he expects Cardinal Pell to answer those allegations, as you mentioned, that he tried to bribe a victim into staying quiet. He has said that he expects Cardinal Pell to answer that allegation in a written submission to the Commission. He says that that statement of denial, that doesn't fall within this legal process. Yesterday, he again urged the Catholic Church to engage with this legal process, and he said that he will be making a finding on those allegations about Cardinal Pell. That's part of his job as Commissioner to investigate the Church's response to these allegations of sexual abuse. And he said that if he plans to continue denying that allegation, that he really needs to make that denial in a submission to the Commission.
So, Emma, what's been the focus of the evidence there today?
Well, today we've been hearing from Brother Peter Clinch, who is the head of the Christian Brothers in Oceania. He's been, first of all, speaking about his, training as a brother 40 years ago and the kinds of training that they went through before taking those vows of celibacy. He says that they basically were told that, I suppose, that they would have struggles during their life as a brother. He said he had a spiritual advisor and regular counselling that helped with what he called his struggles with thoughts of sexuality and that sort of thing. He also spoke about rules that were outlined to the brothers at his time of training, that they weren't to be alone in a room with a child, that they weren't to touch a child or fondle a child, and that having any sort of affection for a particular child could lead to terrible consequences. He also spoke about, as head of the Brotherhood now, I suppose their response to these victims of sexual abuse and the assistance that they've been given. He said that yesterday when he heard from a counsellor that the church's funding of 5 to 10 counselling sessions was nowhere near adequate, he said he would look at that, and he said that the church had the assets to fully fund ongoing counselling, which he said was obviously needed for this lifelong suffering that people, who have been abused are now in. He said that the church would find the funds
I know you're getting my bloody way. You could have waited. Bloody heck.
Dugan says he learned a lot from Hayne in previous Origin campaigns.
I've spoken to him a bit over the last sort of 2 years about that sort of stuff, and you know, it was great to play alongside him last year, and big shoes to fill, but you know, I feel like I'm capable of it.
Staying with rugby league, and Canberra captain Jared Croker says he doesn't expect the Raiders to get much advantage as other teams lose their stars to State of Origin duty over the next couple of months. The Raiders are likely to field an unchanged lineup at home on Sunday as they take on a Bulldogs outfit minus Blues players Josh Morris, Brent Hodkinson, Josh Jackson and David Clemmer. Croker says sides often rally when they're missing their best players. In basketball, the Adelaide Lightning have survived a financial crisis and will play on in the WNBL next season. The South Australian Motor Accident Commission has agreed to be naming rights partner for the club. The Lightning needed at least $150,000 in sponsorship to stay in the league. Basketball SA Chief Executive Mark Hubbard says they're relieved but still need to work on long-term viability.
We're still working through some other partnerships, but this one was the crucial one. Without this partnership, the Lightning wouldn't be on court to go. So this is certainly the one that we're thankful for, and what we really need to do now is build on this.
Meantime, in the NBA, Australia's Andrew Bogut has done a bit for the viability of Golden State Warriors. He was at his influential best in a thrilling one-point victory for the Warriors over Houston Rockets in Game 2 of their semi-final series today. Bogut, on court for 30 minutes, scored 14 points and contributed 8 rebounds, 4 assists and 5 blocks as the Warriors won 99-98. Steph Curry was pretty good too. He led the Warriors scoring with 33 points. In soccer, there's been vigorous debate for some years now about the suitability of the countries chosen to host the next 2 World Cups. One of the concerns that many have with Russia and Qatar as host countries is their laws related to homosexuality. Jason, the American basketballer, has been telling the BBC he doesn't think the World Cups should be boycotted, but he believes that players going into Russia and Qatar can be agents of change.
I hope that, you know, if they do go, that they speak up and they are able to speak out on the culture there. Know that as an athlete you have a unique platform, and I hope that you're able to use that platform, that voice to raise awareness to the plight of the LGBT community in whatever country that you're in.
And staying with soccer, former Italy defender Paolo Maldini has beaten the high-profile David Beckham to the punch in launching a professional football club in Miami. Beckham has been working on plans for an MLS franchise in Miami for some time, but Maldini announced this morning he's linking up with entrepreneur Ricardo Silva in launching Miami FC. They'll compete in the North American Soccer League in 2016.
Debbie Spillane, thank you for that. Catch up with the weather forecast and what it means for you for the rest of today and into tomorrow as well. Beginning in Brisbane now, where it's currently 19 degrees. Final mostly 7 today, a bit breezy at times. The expected top of 21 looks like it's gone. I don't think we're going to reach that at all, and it should be fairly clear tonight.
It's 15.
Sydney at the moment, overcast and 18 degrees. Windy, rain easing back to showers, but they will remain as showers, and there's still the possibility today and tonight thunderstorms, especially in the southwest. Canberra now is currently 14 degrees, and we've got a partly cloudy one, but certainly dry. Melbourne at the moment, 15 degrees. Cloudy this afternoon, and a bit of cloud around tonight, but in this case there's no rain in store at this stage. Hobart currently 13 degrees, partly cloudy conditions continuing, and we're at the expected back level. Adelaide currently 25 miles Perth's 19 degrees, heading for 21 between now and then, finer partly cloudy, and Darwin just on 32 degrees. That's our top 5 and mostly sunny. It's 10 standard time, Central Australia 4:22, Western Australia 12:15.
ABC News Radio headlines.
Good afternoon, Sean Walker here. The Prime Minister Tony Abbott has rebuffed Indonesia's criticism of Australia for refusing to resettle. The coast of building 3 new air warfare destroyers for the Australian Navy's blown out to around $9 billion. That puts the project more than $1 billion over. The Melbourne Court has said that the cyber permit was in place for a hoarding put on a wall that collapsed and killed 3 people. The Tasmanian government says it's disappointed in the decision by Cadbury's to shed 80 full-time jobs. And Queensland has another national champion. This time it's in the sport of a lawnmower racing competition. Mark Shipton from Nambour has won the Australian Lawnmower Championship on his lawn mowing machine that can do an incredible 100 kilometres an hour. Prime Minister Tony Abbott has rejected the criticism of Australia for refusing to resettle the Rohingya asylum seekers who have fled Myanmar by boat. Indonesia's Foreign Minister, Retno Marsudi, says that it's not fair that other regional nations, including Australia, should be looking at the crisis. However, Mr Abbott says he will be responsible for any countries considered by those societies.
around the world who would seek to come and find a new home. Now, I want to make sure that we can work with our partners in the region. We provide significant humanitarian support to Indonesia, to other countries within the region, but we cannot be in a situation having the most generous humanitarian program in the world to then say, or to pretend cruelly to people that somehow we can take millions of people from regions around the world that would be displaced.